The John LeBang Show has been known to make people laugh, sing, think, scream, throw things in rage, and generally lose their minds. Listener discretion is advised.
Scheduled programming to bring you a show on the edge, broadcasting worldwide and out to the greater universe. You're listening to the John LeBang Show.
All right, welcome to this week's second hour, my friends. Thank you for joining me. If you missed the first hour, feel free to go to that website, www.jlebang.com, and get the archives there. Or you can tune in to one of our many affiliate stations, including one we just brought on, Good Talk Radio. I made a little mistake in the first hour, and I want to correct it. They're not from Oregon. I don't know where I got that from. We're negotiating with a few stations right now, and I got all confused. I think I'm getting senile, but whatever. They're from Arizona. And I remember when I originally sent them the information that I was excited about that because my father's from Arizona, and this would give him a local station to tune into to catch his son on the radio. So what do we have in store for this second hour? Well, I've got a few things in mind. We're going to throw out some questions for you to ponder as the hour progresses, and maybe as things unfold, we'll be able to answer them together. First one that I had in mind was triggered by the recent articles I've been reading about the student debt that is just hampering everybody that is coming out of college. People having upwards of $600,000 worth of student loan debt. Why should anyone pursue a degree that will trap them in a perpetual student loan debt? Why is it worth it to do such a thing? I negated that. In fact, I went to 1 year of community college, and I realized then, I was like, whoa, this is not worth the money that I have to pay. I mean, I barely got any kind of advancement in my knowledge for the money I paid at a community college. Now, granted, maybe more of the universities and the Ivy League schools, Harvard and Yale, give you a more in-depth education. They better for what they charge. But when you're hearing about all this student loan debt, all this debt that is accumulating from person to person to person, and how they're stuck perpetually into paying loans that never seem to go away. I'm glad I never went to college after that. I gave that up. When I was married, my wife had a student loan, and it kept dragging us down every month. It was and it would never go down. It would take forever for that student loan to go away. So finally one day I told her, I says, let's just take the money out of the bank and pay that thing off. I'd rather live a little tight for a few months or a year because we have no savings at all than to have this debt that never went away. Yet it is encouraged. It is encouraged to go on to higher learning. And you have to wonder what the motives are. Because if the motives are to better educate people, to make them better so society gets better and everybody can get a better job, then why does it cost so much, and why don't those debts ever go away? You see, they promote college not to better your child or you or anyone out there, that's a fallacy. It's all about money, folks. People need to make money. Teachers and professors need to make money, and boards of educators need to make money. Principals and deans and all that need to make money. And if they can convince you that a piece of paper brought to you by them because they educated your child properly is the only way to get a good job, we're screwed because it costs too much. It costs too much. You can't get out of debt. So what good is it to have a career that brings in all this money, yet you can't get out from the debt that it created? You start off on a bad foot. That's a screwy education system. And that's because the government's involved. When the government gets involved, things go up. They tend to cost more. I'll let you speculate on why that is. But when you have to add administrators and people along the way that need money, they have jobs so they get money. See? So they rip taxes out of your paycheck, send it all away to wherever it goes. Some go to Washington, D.C., some go to your state legislature. Then everybody picks through it and then sends it back to your district. And on top of that, that money, which we put in more per student than just about any nation out there. We may not be number one. I don't have those statistics in front of me, but I know we're up there. We pay a lot for our students to be educated. Except that money that trickles back down to them isn't a very big portion of what was sent up to make it all happen. Yet we have people who defend the public education system because it's educating their kids. Our math scores are down. Our science scores are down. Why is that? Can't be because of money. And if it is because of money, then where is all the money going? Is it being spent so poorly that we can't be number one? Or number two? Can we be one or two? And currently we're not. We're not even top 10. We're falling short. And that's just the public education system. We get into higher learning, and they put you into debt. You're in financial slavery. Just to get an education. Just to get a government indoctrination. Well, for the university, it may not be a direct government indoctrination, but they have their own philosophies, and they have their own political stances, and they have their own causes they get behind. So if you send a student to Berkeley, you're going to get a Berkeley education. If you send a student to Ann Arbor, which is U of M, you're going to get a U of M education. And am I saying don't send your kids to college? You can do whatever you want. But right now, the way college is set up, even how the public education system is set up, it's a losing game for anyone who participates in it, unless you can pay for it. What we need is a reformation of the education system. And we need to focus on local funding. Exclude the federal government. Don't even give them an option. Remove them from the equation. And we can maybe make some progress in educating our kids to make them outstanding adults without kicking them off with massive debt. They've turned education into slavery, financial slavery. They've turned everything into that. I was speaking to a fellow the other day, and he was, talking about some guy that he knows that knows everything, and we talked about the sales tax and who gets paid for that, because it's not Uncle Sam, it's the uncle of your state, whoever your governor and legislation is. That's who gets your sales tax. And he said Uncle Sam. I said, nah, it's Uncle Schneider here in Michigan. Uncle Schneider gets your tax. And I says, that's one of the good taxes. The income tax isn't a good thing at all. In fact, it's wrong in my eyes. Another form of slavery, but this one is to the government. And he goes, well, how are you going to pay for everything? I'm like, well, they did it before they created the income tax. And what you don't know, fella, what you don't know is there's this thing called the Federal Reserve. Now, this guy didn't want to hear any of that. He didn't want to hear any of that because this old guy that he talks to that knows everything, apparently, tells him, and he believes it, how it is in the world. And I'm like, really? So you listen to one guy and they tell you something and you believe them because why? You're not smart enough to figure out yourself? Let me explain something to you, sir. The Federal Reserve was created in 1913. That essentially gave the printing power of the government to a private bank, who then we have to loan it from them. We have to borrow it. Here, please make our money for us. We'll then loan it from you with interest, of course. So every dollar ever created, it costs $1 plus. Does anybody get that? I want you to add that in your head. Ever since the Federal Reserve System has been put in place, every dollar borrowed by the government cost $1 plus, whatever the going rate is for the interest, even if it's just a penny. If they wanted you to pay off your loan, all that money that you borrowed, pay it off, and you gave them back you collected every single dollar from every person that had a dollar bill, because that is a creation of the Federal Reserve, so they want those back. They want those notes back. So if you were to be able somehow to rein in all that money that everybody else has got their hands on now, I want you to think about how that would happen, ladies and gentlemen, just in itself. Think about how they would bring in all the money so the government can pay off the debt. Then when you figure that one out, add this one to the equation. Now the government has brought back all the money and they hand it over to the Federal Reserve. Then the Federal Reserve is going to go, okay, where's the interest? Well, we gave you every single dollar ever created that we borrowed from you. That's great, the Federal Reserve will say. That's awesome. But you still owe us interest. Well, there's no more money, we would say. We gave you everything that you gave us. And the Federal Reserve is going to look us right in the eye and go, that's great. We appreciate that you gave us back all our Federal Reserve notes. It's awesome. But you still owe us interest. But there's nothing else to give you, we would say. And the Federal Reserve would look at us and they'd go, sure there is. You bought things with all that money, like land and property and all kinds of other things. We'll take that. Do you mean and we would say, you mean all the government stuff? They go, oh yeah, but see, the interest is even more than that, because you only had so much money to buy all that stuff and it cost what you borrowed. You're going to have to give us more. So give us all your stuff and then go get more, because you still owe us that. And where do you think the government is then going to turn to? That's right, that to you, right? So they're going to come and ask you, we need your stuff, because the Fed wants their money, and we gave them all the money, but, we had interest, and since there's no money left because they've got it all, we got to take your stuff because we gave them all our stuff, you see, and now we got to take your stuff because it was bought with their money, and it's a federal